Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1986's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which was directed by John McNaughton. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Erik, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh my God. You're like, I'm a serial killer. Erik, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Like, what would that even be?
I don't even know. What am I a serial killer? Like, the worst serial killer ever. I get caught
Oh,
after one, and it's like, let's just call him a serial killer. It'll be a funny joke for him in prison.
oh my God.
It's like, how many people did you kill? Like, one. It's like, you're not a serial. It's like, I know, they just call me that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a serial killer is six or more. I think that's like the definition, which I mean, like if you killed three people, I feel like that's enough.
Like, why is it a serial killer? I know, I used to know this. I thought it was a phone book thing or like someone would do like social security numbers or something. I forgot what it was.
No, serial means like you do it consistently and like it's ongoing.
Okay.
So he's a serial killer because he like kills somebody and then continues killing somebody. So it's like a series of kills. So he's a serial killer.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like six kills, I think that's the definition is like six kills and then you're a serial killer. And I'm like, no, like, so Matthew Broderick only has to kill like five more people and then he's a serial killer. I don't know. I'm just saying that's a weird comparison.
That's yeah.
Let's just jump into the movie.
Like Michael Jordan is he's a serial championship winner. Like that's what we'd say. I don't know.
Did he win six championships?
Six championships, yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, he's a serial championship winner. Yeah.
There you go. Boom. I'm gonna refer to him as that from now on.
The Yankees, they're like a serial.
Yeah, you bet. Big time.
But yeah, so this is your first time seeing this movie though, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, probably the last too. I mean, it was intense, and it was after a long day of work, coming home watching it late at night. I'm like, I was like, I just feel terrible about everything. It is not a happy movie.
No, it's not a happy movie at all. But I actually like this movie a lot. This is the first time I've ever seen it.
Well, why'd you like it? Like, why were you like, yes?
I'll kind of give like the context to this. So like I remember seeing this VHS at Blockbuster a lot and always being afraid of it because like the tagline is he's not Freddy, he's not Jason, he's real. And I really thought this was like a documentary. Like I thought they followed her on an actual killer and like made it into a movie. Like, and I didn't really do a lot of research on it. I never really read up about it. And then a couple years ago, I was like, I really, I should watch that movie. Like, how bad could it be? I saw that it was rated like X.
Yeah, it was like one of the first NC-17's X movies, right?
Yeah, like it couldn't get distribution because it couldn't get a rating. So like yeah, like and the MPAA was like, no matter what you do, we'll never give you an R rating. And they're like, all right, fuck. So it got distribution 4 years after they finished it. But I think the reason I like this movie is just it's super different. It's like I like the following around a serial killer. It's not found footage. It is a real movie, but it is kind of like shot like a documentary-esque kind of feeling. And it's really real. And it was interesting what they were able to
Yeah.
do with such a small budget. And it's one of those movies that's a lot like Last House on the Left or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where like I believe these are real people. Like it wasn't, I'm like, oh yeah, these are actors. Even though I know Michael Rourke, I'm still like, these feel like guys they just found, you know?
Michael Rooker.
Yeah, well, all of them, every Otis. I mean, the guy who sells them the TVs, like everybody felt they didn't feel like actors to me, and most of them aren't.
It reminded me of like Cormac McCarthy, like one of his books, like The Road, where it's like, no, you're gonna watch a movie about like what really happens out there with killing. That's what this movie was. It shot beautifully. I mean, as violent as it was, the opening sequence with all the bodies and stuff, and it's intense, but it's like it's trying to get you to be like, yeah, it's intense, but it's also like an educational film almost.
Yeah, I mean, you're showing how deranged somebody can be, and like how somebody that's so beat down by society, like they feel like they have nothing else mixed with this like fucked up childhood. Like it's not giving justification for why they do it, but it's like I can understand why somebody in that situation would be killing somebody. And I think this movie did a good job of like painting that because we learn a lot about Henry's upbringing and what led him to where he is. He went to jail, all this stuff, and same with Otis. So I'm not saying any of their killings are justifiable, but you can understand why somebody like this would kill somebody, you know?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I would kind of like a movie like a modern version of this, but like more on because you learn, Michael Rooker's character, he where and how, even though his story changes like five times, it is clearly his upbringing and his mother. And like, and not the story changing of what happened, like the whole dress stuff and making him watch her and stuff. It's like I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I lost my point.
Well, the only thing that changes in his story is the weapon he uses to kill his mom.
Right, which reminded me of the Joker. It reminded me of like Heath Ledger. You know what? And you want to know how I got these scars?
Mm,
Like, because he's done so many killings and
right.
he's done so much that his mind is just like blur. He doesn't remember. But oh yeah, now I remember my point. The modern version I'd like to see is like someone with CTE, and that's the reason he's a serial killer. Because that's all over like Aaron Hernandez, Chris Benoit, like people that have done real life killings, and they examine their brain. It's like, and also the suicide that happens with CTE, their brain becomes just like rotten. It rots away and there's dead spots in their brain, so it's just like it's not firing like a normal brain. So it was really interesting to think about. Well, and that's what I was thinking about watching this, like, oh yeah, that's probably, yeah, it's either your upbringing or that or something happened. Yeah, it was a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the sports thing would be tough just because like it's really nailing the reason on the head of why they're killing. It's like, oh, it's because he hit his head so many times that he's a killer. Where this movie leaves it a little bit ambiguous. You're like, oh, he had a fucked up childhood. He got into prison.
There's a lot of things, but his upbringing is the first domino, I think.
Yeah, but it's interesting though because this is believable where you look at American Psycho and you're like, I love that movie, but you're like, how could this guy get away with this stuff?
Nah, he's not getting away with that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in like the high elite of New York. Like, he's not, I mean, he is picking up prostitutes and stuff, but like, I don't know. Like, I believe this so much more that this scumbag could do these things. And he's not like this violent psychopath like the Last House on the Left people. Like, he's very reserved. Like that's what's even scarier. He doesn't have outbursts or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Totally agree.
At the end, he does the right thing too. It's like okay, yeah, we should walk through the movie because I don't
Sure,
want
sure,
to.
but like back to your point, like he's always on the move, and that's why he gets away with it. He's not stopping. Like they will never find him because he's in a different place every day.
Right, pretty much. I mean, yeah, he stays very, low key, and he does have a sister that, well, we don't know if it's real, but they're going to visit at the end, and that's where he's headed next. But back in the 80s, man, like you really could get away with this kind of stuff. It wasn't until the 90s that all the forensic CSI, all that stuff really started happening. So nowadays it would be a lot harder.
Which is so wild to me. It's so wild to me how like backwards it is because like back then kids would walk to the school bus and like parents would be okay. Now it's like you can't do anything, but now we have the technology to prevent. It's so backwards in my mind, if that makes any sense.
No, I've thought about that before too. It's like we should give children more freedom because we have the ability to track them and all that stuff. But at the same point, it's like we've seen so much fucked up stuff since the 70s that you're like, it's not worth it. Like hitchhiking, like all, like
Yeah.
none of that. Like it's all gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, but then everyone's like, why can't kids like walk home from school? It's like, well, but then the technology can be a safety net. And it's like back then, it's a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. No, it is. But yeah, this movie, yeah. So like in the 80s, obviously people got caught, but like the serial killer thing was huge in the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that. So, you know, well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you know this. I don't know too much about this movie, but I do know that this is actually based off a real serial killer. Do you know about this?
I read a little bit about it on the Wikipedia page. So if you want to walk through that and let's go through the plot.
Yeah, his name is Henry Lee Lucas, maybe? It was like Henry Lee something.
Henry Lee's, they're not usually good. Henry Lee's. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's based off a real guy and his friend Otis, and they really did they did do killings. The guy went to jail and he basically said, like, I killed 600 people. So, like, he made his story so outlandish that they never really knew what was real. But he did have a partner named Otis. They did go on a killing spree. They broke up as friends. But here's the one thing that I thought was really interesting. This real dude, he went to jail, all this stuff. But when he was a kid, his mom was a prostitute, and his older brother stabbed him in the eye with a knife. And he told his mom, and mom's like, we're not going to the hospital or whatever. And the next day in school, I guess the teacher whacked him across the head with a ruler, and his eyeball exploded. because he has a fucked up eye. If you ever look this guy up, he's like, yeah, Henry Lee Lucas, yeah, and his left eye is like all droopy and weird.
I don't know if I need to Google that. I can picture it.
Yeah, so yeah, anyway, so it's loosely based on that guy. Prostitute mother, killing spree with a guy named Otis. His name is Henry. So there's some real similarities. But yeah, and that guy got arrested in like 1985, and this movie came out a year later. So it's like kind of
He
crazy.
actually, like, I Googled him. The first thing that pops up, he looks like an old coworker I used to work with, which is kind of like,
Oh my God.
his eye does look really. That picture does not look good.
Yeah, he got messed up.
Damn.
But anyway, so let's walk through the plot a little bit here. Starts off on a bunch of dead women, and they've recently been murdered, and they're being shown kind of like almost like police photos, but it's like a slow fading camera. They're naked, they're brutally murdered. One of them has like a bottle through her face.
They're in the water. They're in hotel rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all different types of kills, all different places and stuff like that. Most of them seem like they're prostitutes, but I don't know. They could just be whoever. And then we see a guy, Henry, hitchhikes, and he gets a hitchhiker with a guitar is hitchhiking. He picks her up, and then they drive off. And then we meet Becky, and Becky's getting picked up by the airport by her brother Otis, and Otis is Henry's roommate. And Becky is going through a divorce, and her mom is watching her daughter, and like, I guess she's trying to get away from her ex-husband to make some money and then get a new life or whatever. So she's living with her brother Otis, who's living with Henry, and both of them got out of jail, and they were together.
Yeah, like it starts with him like picking him up from jail pretty much. Like, hey, he just got out, fresh out of the box.
Yeah, so now he's like, doing odd jobs around town, killing random women, and I don't think Otis doesn't know that he's a serial killer. Or do you think he does? He knows that he killed his mom because he told him in jail, but he said he killed his mom with a baseball bat.
Yeah. And he's like, swear you won't tell him.
Yeah, which he immediately does. But
I was like, what are you doing? But like, obviously, there's also she doesn't know that he's a serial killer either. I wonder, does Otis know? He has to know. Is like he's up to no good. Like if you, I don't know.
I don't think he does. I think he knows he's a bad guy. I think he knows he's killed people, but I don't think he knows he's a serial killer. Because I feel like once he introduces Otis to killing, then they have like a different relationship. So I don't think he does now.
Except, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't think he knows.
Yeah. So then Becky and Otis are chilling at the apartment or whatever, talking about what Becky's gonna do. And then Henry walks in with a guitar. So we never see that woman, but she got killed, and he takes or maybe, we don't know, but probably takes the guitar, gives it to Otis as a gift, and then Otis leaves to go to work, and Becky and Henry become like, chatty and like kind of flirtatious. And you're like, okay, what does she see in him? Well, her ex-husband is in jail, so I guess she has a type.
Yeah, it sounds like she has a type, and I don't know.
Yeah.
What did she say? Like, you seem like reserved, or I forget what she says, but like soft spoken. I forget what she tells him. And
Yeah.
then like, yeah, she immediately goes into they're talking one on one. She immediately goes into the mother thing and like the baseball bat, and he's like,
I know.
"We told you that." And then like 2 minutes later, he changes the story. What does he say? He kills her with or something?
He was like, I stabbed her.
Yeah. It's like I stabbed her. She's like, "Did you kill her with the baseball bat?" I thought that was one of the best parts of the movie because it was like he really doesn't remember.
Right. Yeah, and that's cool. And like dude, no matter what, like it's not incredible, but the acting's pretty
It's
good.
fucking good. It's really good. There's no doubt, especially for this type of movie.
Well, Michael Rourke especially, or
Rooker.
Rooker, he especially, I was like, fuck, man, this guy, I'm surprised his career wasn't bigger after this. Well, this movie is like hard to watch, but
He's huge now. Like he's one of the top booked Comic-Con artists you can get now. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Walking Dead, dude.
I mean, yeah, but like Guardians of the Galaxy made him like a household name, I feel like almost. And the
Yeah.
Mary Poppins line is one of the best lines in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even
Oh
though you
yeah.
don't care about Marvel at all. But like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, that was the second one.
I've seen it.
Oh, there you go. That was hilarious, and he's a good actor in that too. So he's good. He's in Cliffhanger. What else? He was in a ton of shit.
Yeah, he's funny and he's scary. He's really got it all.
Spectrum right there.
Yeah, but then what happens next? So then Henry and Becky, they don't hook up or anything, but they definitely, talk. And then Otis breaks the TV. He gets all like pissy or no, wait, do they kill the guy under the bridge first, or does he break the TV first? I can't
I think he
remember.
breaks the TV first, and they go to the guy to get the TV.
Yeah, so he gets all pissed off at the TV because the reception's all fucked up, and he breaks it with his foot. And then Henry walks in, he's like, "Why'd you do that for?" And he's like, "I don't know." Oh,
You know what? There's so many. I'm gonna list three movies this reminded me of. Four movies right now. I said The Joker already, so that's one. Reminded me of Blue Velvet. That's two. This this scene especially. This is gonna sound so stupid, but it reminded me of Beavis and Butthead Do America. If you remember that movie at the start of the movie, their TV
oh
breaks, and
yeah, yeah.
that's the start of the movie. And I don't know why. I was like, it reminds me of that. And then, oh, what's the other scene? Oh, there's a scene with him. He's like fumigating or using like that stuff to like get rid of rats or
Yeah, yeah.
poison. That reminded me of a movie we watched with
That's Blue Velvet.
Corinne. No, no, no. That was no, was that Blue Velvet or was that a remember the one with the guy who has like his like Siamese twin brother in a basket case?
Oh, Basket Case, yeah,
And he
yeah.
was he was like another guy who had that. And I was like, oh my God, that was must have been a thing in the 70s and 80s. I don't know.
The bug spray thing is that's from Blue Velvet also, but yeah, this movie feels a lot like Basket Case. Like,
Right. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know. Yeah.
oh, it came out a couple years after it, but it's a very low budget, takes place in a city. This is Chicago instead of New York, like Basket Case. But yeah, very, very like similar grit to it. I like both of them, but I think I prefer this one. Yeah, so then okay, so they break the TV and then they're like, all right, well, let's go get another one. And they go to see this guy in like a what is a storage unit, and he just has he's like this big fat guy, and he's got all this electronics that he's selling. He's selling a TV for $50 and like all this stuff, and they get in a fight with him. But I do want to say I watched this one YouTube video where apparently that guy actually does that. So they like looked him up. They looked up a guy to find out like if they could buy illegal TVs, and they're like, "Do you want to be in a movie and play yourself?" And he was like, "Okay," and he just did it.
Blows his cover though. It's like, all right, well, you gotta stop selling illegal TVs, man.
I know. I was like, yeah, maybe. I mean, the director said it, so I'm like, I mean, maybe it's fake, but it's kind of weird. But that, I mean, again, that guy doesn't seem like an actor, and he's not. Like, seems like a real scumbag. So yeah, so they get in a fight over the price of the TV and all that stuff, and then I think like he tells Henry to get the fuck out of there, and that was the thing. Like, I don't think Henry was gonna kill this guy until he got rude and told him to like, go fuck himself, right?
Yeah, I think when that happened, it was like, all right, now those are fighting words, but like Henry doesn't fight, he kills.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good line. Henry doesn't fight, he kills.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. It's like the water boy doesn't tackle, he like knocks you out.
But I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, what he seems to only kill women when he's got like his vampire feast hunger, and he's like, I gotta go find a prostitute and kill her. But otherwise, he seems to keep it together. Like, he wasn't gonna kill this guy, and then the guy was like, "Fuck you," and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna murder you now. I'm gonna stab a soldering iron into your hand, bash a TV on top of you, and then plug it in. Like, not just kill you, really kill you." Anyways.
Yeah, he shouldn't have fucked up that hard. I mean, he messed up pretty hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, he didn't know who he was messing with, but that really sets off the relationship between Otis and Henry, where Otis is like, "Yo, I'm down to kill. Like, let's go." They have a conversation where it's like, "Haven't you ever killed anybody before?" And Otis is like, "Well, in self-defense." And it's like, "All right, well, let's just go kill people right now." And that's where they go to the underbridge part, which is like, dude, that part messed me up a little bit. It's like
I can see why. Yeah.
they fake their tire being broken or something. Like they fake their cars messed up under this bridge. So this guy pulls over, is like, "You guys need help," and then they just shoot him in the head. And I was like, man, that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It makes you really scared in today's world to do like you want to help people. You want to help people, but it's like it's scary. Like you never know unless it's like really broad daylight with a lot of cars. I guess never really help people at night. That's like my thing now. I'm gonna say that. Like if I saw someone who needed help during the day, I'm gonna help you. But at night and you're by yourself, I'm sorry, I pay taxes. Someone else can help you. Like
well, nowadays, I mean, you could stay in your car and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna call a tow truck for you." Like,
yeah, or that, or like call some. Hey, there's someone on the side of the road. I would do that. Absolutely do that.
yeah, most people have cell phones too, so it's like, but back then they didn't. So they kill this guy. I think they just leave him there and then they just drive away and no repercussions, just cool, out of there. Yeah, and then forgot, they steal a camera from the scumbag guy. They steal a TV and a camera, and they go back to their house and they have a little dance party and they're filming it, and Otis is getting weird. He's like talking about how his sister used to be a stripper and is like kind of grabbing her and stuff, and she's kind of kissing on Henry. So it's like, all right, something's definitely going on here.
Mm.
Something's up.
Yeah, not for long.
Yeah, not for too much longer. So what else happens? And Henry and Otis go, oh yeah, this is probably the reason the movie got an X rating. I think. I mean, the home invasion scene, that's like,
Yeah, that was definitely the most violent and another. It reminds you of Clockwork Orange and
oh yeah.
in that scene too a little bit.
No, definitely. That scene, like, here's the thing, like, by today's standards, it's still fucked up, but like, if that came out today, the movie would be rated R.
Yeah, I think everyone's desensitized with all these movies that have come out in the past and now, and the internet in general.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But in 1986, like seeing this, it looks very real for what they're doing. And basically, yeah, they have a guy tied up and they have his wife and they're ripping her clothes off and, doing all this stuff. And then the son walks in and they get up and kill him and then kill the father and then kill the mother. And then like Otis gropes the dead mother's body. It's a lot.
Yeah, like we don't even have to talk about it anymore. That's how much it is.
But the most fucked up part about it is when it's over, it pans from the freeze frame of that last shot of the home invasion on their videotape, and then it pans over to the guys watching it so intently. Like they're like watching their masterpiece, and you're like, that's messed up. And like I think they pause it and it's like, what are you doing? He's like super upset about it. Like that's what's weird. They're reliving that experience over and over again with the videotape. And that's like the next layer of serial killers. Nobody had home tapes back in 1985. Like, so that was like a luxury. And for a serial killer to have it, like that's a bad combo.
And being able to rewatch their kills, it's like, ooh no, oh no, this is opening a whole nother floodgate.
Yep. So of the time, it's very, very brutal and still brutal by today's standards. And the director talked about the scene, and yeah, he was like, the mother actress was not happy when it was over. She like was like catatonic, and we had to take her off set. And I was like, yeah, I can imagine.
It's hard to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah. Well, most of these people weren't actors. All of the naked women in the beginning were the director's friends, and they're like, do you want to like do this? And they all agreed for some reason. They're like, yeah, I'll get naked and get
And
killed.
go in a swamp with my pants off.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so that scene's definitely the reason the movie got a very extreme rating. But it is interesting too. Ebert and Roper, we keep talking about them. Ebert and Roper, or no, Siskel and Ebert. This is back in the 80s. Dude, they did this interview. You can watch it on YouTube where they're just talking about how this movie's great and it's bullshit that it can't get an R rating. And it's like ridiculous that Friday the 13th can get one that's just like intense slashing gore with no context, where this one's kind of a psychological study art house film and it can't get released. Like,
I agree with them.
yeah, they were going to bat.
This to me is, I mean, it's might be a messed up take, but like I just said, it's educational. It makes you, the viewer, realize like, oh yeah, yep. That's what I'm thinking watching this. Like, yeah, that's real. That's all I kept saying to myself in my head. Like, yep, that's probably how it went down or would go down. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to deviate too much onto this, but like this kind of set the groundworks for why like Dahmer, the Jeffrey Dahmer story was successful, right?
That at the time I think was the most binged watched show on Netflix. And the reason is people love this shit.
Right.
And it was very well done. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Dahmer probably wouldn't exist if there wasn't films like this before.
But this felt more real, because nobody knew any of these actors. Like everybody knew Evan Peters or whatever. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, that's that guy. And like, Niecy Nash or Nancy Niece, whatever, we knew the actors.
Yeah, so there's a safety net. Like, oh, it's going to be fine. These guys are big Hollywood actors. Like they're not going, like what they're doing is just acting. This is like, we don't know anyone in this film at the time.
No, and you can't look them up on the internet. Like there's no way to know who these people are. So this movie, I think, it's just more messed up than the Dahmer thing, just because the Dahmer thing has the Netflix gloss on it, and this does not.
Even though Dahmer was really, really freaking good.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
It is terrifying.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say I loved it. I enjoyed watching it,
I loved it. I thought it was really well done, but that's just my take.
No, it's just the context. I'm like, yeah, I love that. I fucking loved watching him murder people.
I know. It's yeah, but like I mean, most binge watch show in Netflix during the time. It's like, well, look how many people watch Netflix. Like, do your math, people. Like, this is our world we live in.
Yeah.
It's fucked up to think about, but yep.
Yeah. So I guess moving on to like the finale of the film, Becky is basically like, "Hey, I'm gonna like leave and go get my kid, and I want you to come with me." And Henry's like, "Yeah, I was gonna leave anyways."
And Henry's been like protecting her and like, likes her.
Yeah, you can tell he does. So he's just like, I'm into this, let's go. And really kind of fucked up, but the real life story is this really was a relationship, but she was 12 and she was Otis's mentally handicapped niece.
So that's what the real story was. Oh God.
Yeah. So he did kill her too. But anyway, so he runs, yeah. So Becky's like, "Come with me and my kid. Like, let's get out of here." Henry's like, "Yeah, I'm into that." Before that happens, though, Otis, he has to go see his not correction officer, but his parole officer, and he almost checks in with him, thinking like, "I'm gonna get caught for these killings," and they're like, "Hey, like, I'm busy, so you're doing good, man. I gotta get out of here." And he's like, "Great." So he goes and sells drugs to this random guy that he talks to at the gas station earlier, but he's like, "Yeah, I'll sell you drugs later."
Yeah, I know it's like hit me at 5 p.m.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, "Give me the money now, and then I'll come back with the drugs." It's like, dude, I don't trust you, but okay. So he gives him the money, and then he meets up later, and Otis gives him the drugs, but then Otis grabs the guy's like thigh, and the guy freaks out and punches him or whatever. And that's like the only little inclination we get that Otis might be gay, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely that going on. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
It's a throwaway thing, but I love it because it kind of just adds a little bit of context to this guy, and you're just like, huh. And again, the real life story was Otis was a prostitute for his entire life. So that was, I don't know. I guess they were insinuating that he was gay too, but I don't know. Yeah, so I do like that. But yeah, so the final scene is Becky starts making out with Henry. Otis walks in, sees it. Henry gets all kind of awkward. He's like, "I'm gonna go buy cigarettes," and he leaves. And he gets to the store, and you're like, is he gonna kill the guy at the store? Because he's being kind of rude to him, and he doesn't. He holds back, and he gets the cigarettes, and he leaves. And this is my favorite line though. And the guy's like, "How about those bears?" And he's like, "Fuck the bears." He just walks
I
out.
know, I know. I mean, well, that was his way of killing him because he's like, I have my own Henry issues going on where I can't be killing you right now, but fuck the Bears. That's pretty much what I got from that.
Yeah, it was just so funny for him to just say that. Like, okay. And then he goes outside and he sees a woman, this little Pomeranian, and I was like, "Oh, this lady's gonna get murdered." Like, and that scene felt like Clockwork Orange to me, where this woman was kind of standing her ground, like, "Who are you? Like, are you like a hooligan? Like, what are you? This is my dog. Like, let me introduce you." Like, she was kind of like trying to show her that she was like, show him she was tough. And she starts walking away, and Henry looks at her, and you're like, "Oh, fuck, what's he gonna do?" Why do you think he held it in? What do you think it was?
I think because he's dealing with the Otis and Becky stuff at home.
What is it? What is he dealing with though?
I think he's focused on that.
On what though?
On with the like Otis walking in on him on the kissing and stuff.
Oh, okay.
He's like he needs to fix it. Like he's focused. That's all it is. Like he has something else going on in his brain.
Right.
And when he's not focused, he's killing.
So you think that the thing that he's like kind of his focus is off is because Otis saw him making out with
Yes.
his sister? Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think I like forgot that they were brother and sister for a second. Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of awkward for him. Got it. And he's also probably grappling with the fact that he's like, "I'm gonna run away with this woman, and how am I gonna deal with her?" Like, and yeah. So he comes home.
We'll see.
Yeah, he comes home and he hears Otis assaulting Becky, and he immediately tackles Otis. Otis is bashing him, they're fighting or whatever, and then Becky saves Henry with her comb and stabs the comb into Otis's eye. That shot looked good. That shot was like, oh God.
That was the best visual part of it, I think. One of the best. And the neck breaking scene was also really well done.
I can't think of anything that looked bad.
No, nothing looked bad. Nothing looked bad. It was yeah, but that eye stabbing scene was like, oh shit, like it caught me.
The blood in this movie, I am convinced they used like pig blood or something.
Yeah, this is not like syrup. This was real
No,
blood.
this
Yeah.
looked like animal blood. Like, yeah, because Otis gets stabbed in the eye, and then Henry cuts him up and like into pieces and starts like like cutting him up in the bathtub, and that blood looks so real. So yeah, I don't know what they used, but Yeah, very realistic. So then Becky's like, "What are we gonna do?" And it's like, "Just we're going or whatever." So they leave, get to the hotel. Henry's acting all weird, shaving, doing his thing. And the next morning he gets in the car, but
Oh, God, yes.
Becky's not there.
Becky's
Ah.
not there. Yep.
And before any of that, when they're driving at night, she's like, "What are we gonna do?" And it's like, "We can go to my sister's farm in like San Bernardino or something. That's in California." And she's like, "Okay." So yeah, they're driving away, and then the next morning we see Henry putting her suitcase in the car. There's blood all over it. Drives to the side of the highway, just chucks it on the side of the road, drives away. End of the movie.
He drives away solo. She's not in the back seat. She's not in the front seat. So it's like,
Oh, she's dead. She's in that suitcase. Of course, there's blood all over it.
it's like you just get that like, and it's like, why do I care? But
What do you mean? Why do you care? She didn't deserve that.
I mean, like, it's like, oh, I hope Henry and Becky get to go off in the sunset. Like, you get that, like, oh, good. I hope they go. And it's like, oh, Henry, why'd you, Henry,
Henry.
oh, Henry, what'd you do now?
That's a candy bar. Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry. No, but really, it was a not shocking, but
I didn't think Becky deserved that at all.
no, but it sucked the air out of the room, and you're like, ugh, like
Yeah.
that is brutal.
It's a good way to end a movie, though. It sticks with you, you know? Like,
Yeah.
if it was just them driving away and it was just like, "Ooh, wow," and it was just that, you'd be like, "This sucks," you know?
Yeah, they added Disturb to the end of it. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think having that, like, right at the end, you're like,
Or
"God
like,
damn."
and like imagine like he throws the suitcase at me, like it's like doom psycho killer,
Yeah.
cascade. It's like that's not the song choice either. I don't
That's what
know.
it would be, though, because, yeah, it would have been the 80s. Yeah. He somehow got access to that song from the 90s. But, all right. So I don't know if you heard about this, but they did make a sequel.
Henry the pony guy, he collects those my ponies.
Henry the My Pony guy. No, I think it's just called Henry 2, like a Henry of a Portrait of a Serial Killer 2.
So he just keeps going.
It's apparently really bad. It has absolutely nobody from the first one, none of the actors, none of the director, like no one came back, and it got pretty much, yeah, critically panned. So I don't think we need to
I
watch
don't
it.
I don't think this needs a sequel ever. So I think
No.
that's pretty fair to say too. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was kind of cool, this is really random, but so this movie had a lot of trouble getting distribution, a lot of trouble getting shown. It got mass distribution in 1990, but it wasn't even mass; it was pretty low. But it's kind of cool. The first theatrical premiere, I'm sorry, the second theatrical premiere in America was at the Angelica Film Center in New York, and I actually worked there, which I thought was kind of cool. It's still there.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a little art house film cinema, and it's really cool because like a lot of celebrities will come there because like they don't want to go to AMC and get like swamped, so they'll go to this one little theater. And yeah, I used to work there right when I moved to New York in like 2013. So I saw that and I was like, that's okay. I used to work there.
Nice little tidbit right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this movie holds a special place in your heart in some weird way. Some really, really weird way.
Well, the fact that I was scared of it as a kid and then finally saw it, and I gotta say, like, I like this movie. It is messed up, the material is messed up, but it's like a good portrayal of a serial killer and what it might be like in their day to day. I want to see that new movie, oh God, it's from a serial killer's point of view. I don't know what it is, but anyways.
I was going to say my last final thought is it's not a movie you see on a first date. That was my final thought.
No, no.
One, but also I want to go through the stats real quick. All right, it was released September 24th, 1986. The movie is an hour and 23 minutes, nice and short. The budget was $110,000. It made about 5 times its budget at $610,000, which is probably we got the sequel. Rotten critic score was 89%. The audience score was 71%. So people liked it. And the accolade score is 12%. So just put that into the equation. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Good movie. Check it out. Spin the wheel.
Spinning! The prequel to Home Alone, The Good Son.
Dude, that could be a prequel to this movie, honestly.
Holy shit.
I know. We'll talk about it on that one, but all right. Thank you very much for listening into our episode on Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and we'll see you all next week with The Good Son.
Woo!